The Bad Batch has quickly become one of my favorite topics in the Star Wars catalog as of late. I've already talked about their gear and uncovered some details about the Imperial secret projects the Bad Batch has interacted with, but I have spent very little time discussing the members of the Bad Batch themselves. Each of the members is unique, and everyone in my friend group has a different favorite. And being the absolute power gamer that I am, this got me thinking about my own personal rankings of the Bad Batch. Every member is powerful and useful for a number of different reasons, but that doesn't mean they're all equally valuable. Now, I can't stress enough that these are my own personal rankings, so please don't burn me at the stake if you disagree with me. Instead, just leave a comment and tell me that I'm wrong and exactly how so. Now, without further gilding the lily, join me as I break down my personal rankings of the members of the Bad Batch and how essential each member is to the squad. Oh, and this should be obvious, but spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Number 6, Crosshair. As awesome as Crosshair is, somebody has to be last. The only reason Crosshair is technically in last place is that his unique skill is not all that unique. Nominally, his special ability is his incredible marksmanship. He is the most talented member at dispatching enemies with vastly powerful amounts of speed, and awesome feats like bouncing shots off walls and taking out tanks with blasts down the barrel. But the ability to destroy enemies quickly isn't exclusive to him. All members of the Bad Batch absolutely wreck most types of combatants, and the other members also have alternative aspects to their role in the group. Crosshair is able to kill stuff faster, but it's not like the rest of the group can't also toss enemies aside like tissue paper, albeit a little bit slower than he can. And that makes him replaceable. Crosshair is certainly the best gun on the team, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to being an essential member, the team can go on without him. This fact is even proven by his absence from the team for a majority of the 3-season run. Would his gun make encounters easier? Yes, but without him, the mission is still able to be completed. And because of that, Crosshair is really just a win harder sort of batcher, and that leaves him at number 6. Number 5, Hunter. Hunter is the leader of the group, so it might surprise you that I placed him so low. But when it comes to his unique traits and abilities, he doesn't have quite as many as the rest of the team. The biggest thing he provides to the group outside of general kick-buttery, which we've already discussed as a factor with regards to Crosshair, is his planning and leadership. But once again, those traits are not particularly hard to replace. Sure, the replacement isn't exactly included in the squad, but theoretically, Hunter could be replaced by someone like Rex or Cody, and the squad would function almost exactly the same. Hell, Omega is quite the leader when she needs to be, and the other members are known to be self-starters, so leadership isn't at a major deficit when it comes to the Bad Batch. And as far as Hunter's other abilities go, his extra sensitive sensory abilities and tracking skills are very nice, but we've seen them fooled plenty of times, and the other members can still track and close the distance with targets, albeit slower than Hunter. In the end, it just comes down to the fact that if Hunter is not in the squad, the mission can still be completed, and that leaves him at number 5. Number 4, Tech. Tech is incredibly smart. He fulfills the role of the squad's brains, using his incredible technical ability, intelligence, and planning skills to get the batch through all of their worst encounters. Almost. But that one failure isn't the reason I'm ranking Tech in the bottom half of the batch. After all, that was really Saw Gerrera's fault. No, the reason Tech is in the 4th position on my rankings is quite similar to the other 2 members we've covered so far. Tech's brains, planning skills, and even technical abilities are somewhat replaceable, so long as the squad includes Echo. Now, since Echo isn't with the Bad Batch most of the time, Tech's skills are far less duplicative than either Hunter or Crosshair, and that makes him much more valuable than either of them. But the fact remains, he can be made redundant. The squad certainly felt the loss of their smartest colleague, and they took several L's as a result of that loss. But when Echo was back, the squad was once again at a fully functioning order. And that means Tech ends up with a slightly mournful 4th place. Number 3, Wrecker. Wrecker is an absolute brute. His strength is super useful with so many of the Bad Batch plans relying on it. He might be a little dumb, but he's still smart enough to memorize every plan the Bad Batch has ever made. Wrecker's incredible abilities and his general get-after-it attitude means that he has to be in the top half of the Batch's roster. Wrecker is a human freight train. I mean, the man was strong enough to wrestle a Rancor to a stalemate, making him way more of an actual Venator than the Jedi Cruiser ever was. Plus, his ridiculous strength allowed him to be probably about as well armored as those cruisers too. And this gave the Bad Batch a number of tactical options that would never be possible without him. I mean, who else could carry a squad's worth of cover as they make a charge? Then there's Wrecker's attitude. He might not even know what the word defeat means because he clearly doesn't act like it. This man never lets anything get him down for long, and his optimism is a bright light for the rest of the squad to draw on when things get tough. He also loves explosives, but that's pretty much standard for clones, and hardly a unique skill for the batch. So with all that considered, I think Wrecker has earned himself a solid 3rd place in my Bad Batch rankings. Number 2, Omega. Okay, I can already hear the comments pouring in. Yes, this is probably my most controversial pick, but I need you all to stay with me a while longer. Spam me in the comments if you must, but please just listen to what I have to say first. In the early seasons, yes, Omega was a liability, but by season 3, she is an extremely capable member of the Bad Batch, able to overcome challenges by herself that the other members would have struggled heavily with. Omega was able to break herself out of Mount Tantiss not once, but twice, both times carrying somebody else out of there with her. And the second time, she almost was solely responsible for the destruction of Mount Tantiss and the ruination of Dr. Hemlock. Sure, the rest of the Bad Batch helped to actually finish him off, but you can't tell me Tarkin would have let Hemlock keep going after the Zillo Beast escaped and destroyed his whole facility, especially if he found out that the cause of the disaster was a single 12-year-old girl who was already under heavy scrutiny because she had escaped before. I mean, that's the kind of humiliation you don't come back from. Hemlock would have been commanding a scrapyard in the Outer Rim if he hadn't been shot by Omega's brothers. And then there's the added bonus that Omega might sort of be Force sensitive. I mean, she can't exactly use the Force, but there's definitely something given how good Omega is at sensing things beyond the obvious. That didn't help her see that Sid is an awful scumbag who the Bad Batch should have tracked down and shot after the backstabbing she gave them, but still. Omega also possesses the veritable Heart of Gold, one which admittedly does get the Batch involved in more fights than would probably be best for them, but ultimately ensures that they never lose sight of their humanity, or their compassion. Omega, more than anyone else, is the reason the Bad Batch is never corrupted by their circumstances. She's the reason they don't end up as a little more than mercs for hire, or worse. And for that, she gets the number 2 spot. Number 1, Echo. And the number 1 spot goes to Echo, part man, part machine, all hero. Echo is the squad's ace in the hole, the one man who can be trusted to get it done when no one else can. When Echo steps up to the plate, you know we're about to see a home run. On paper, Echo is probably the most replaceable member of the Bad Batch. I mean, technically he wasn't even an original member, and he doesn't have any genetic defects that the other Batchers have. But that assessment is missing a lot of nuance. Echo's cybernetic enhancements give him the technical utility on par with Tech, and his blaster skills are just as good as the other Batchers, and his ability to understand regular clones undoubtedly saved the Batch a couple of times. And that's ignoring the X Factor. Much like Hawkeye in the Avengers, Echo is the secret MVP of the Bad Batch. If he is there, no mission can ever fail, and when he's absent, failure is all but guaranteed. Some people might say that's just coincidence, that Echo isn't directly responsible for the victories he's a part of. He just represents the Batch at a time when they're stronger, and removing him shows the Batch is in a time of risk where they might fail, heightening tensions for the viewer in a demonstrable, organic way. But to that I say, scoreboard! It doesn't matter why or how, Echo is always able to come through when it matters. And in the finale, he gets to claim prestige as the only member of the rescue team to actually get his part of the mission done, all while managing to save everyone else's butts. Plus, he's still going. The rest of the Bad Batch retired, but Echo keeps on trucking with the Clone Rebellion thing. He is the Swiss Army knife, a one-man army, the ARC Trooper. And if Five was still around, he would be proud to hear that his brother is the undisputed number 1 best member of the Bad Batch. Rest easy, Domino Squad, your legacy is assured. But these are just my rankings, and while I will absolutely fight anybody who disagrees with Echo being the top dog, I would love to hear what you all think. So please post your rankings in the comments down below and try not to start any blood feuds. Until next time, I have been Sam, and this has been Devoted Bard. Thank you very much for watching.